Let's continue working for the railroad. I have to make 3 spacer bars. That goes between the moving part of a switch. Now, in this case it's 2 different switches, but whatever. Let's have a closer look. This bar I have to make, this side is perfect, and I even have a pin for it, so no problem. But on this side there is a, for us, perfectly useless part, so I have to take it out, and this pin is completely stuck. So my job is to take this apart and then of course make a new pin. And the other 2, I have to weld these 2 parts here together, because these were old parts and they were frame cut in half. So I took off the half, quarter, half, whatever. I cut this off and then I have to weld this on this side, and of course at a specific length on the other side the same. But let's start, for example, with this one. Here is a little piece of pin left, but I don't think it will be a problem because the other side is completely gone. I suppose it was cut off, and when I hammered it, it started to move a little bit. Not the pin, but this part in here. So in my opinion, over to the drill press. I could do it on the milling machine, but I don't want all these rusty bits and pieces on my beautiful decal, so here it will be. Before I start breaking drill bits on this thing, I will give it a little touch of pin hammer, because maybe the camera picks it up, but you can clearly see the pin inside here, and it could well be that there is some movement. Just a little bit. Nope, doesn't want to cooperate. I brought it outside on the anvil and doesn't move. You can see a little bit of bursting here, so could be that it's gonna move, but right, let's drill it out. I gave here a nice and deep little center point, and to prevent drilling in here, I will put it in a vise. That's good. Man, that's heavy. Change of plans. This thing is really heavy and I hurt myself trying to hold it on the drill press in the right position. So let's give it a go on the milling machine. I installed a low quality drill bit that I absolutely don't like. You never know what's gonna happen in here. Right, let's figure it out. Maybe I should start to like it. It works perfectly fine. The pin in here is 25 millimeter and the hole I just drilled is 16. I have a 23 millimeter drill bit, but because it's off center, that won't work. But because a few days ago I received a little package from Peter with a whole collection of tools in it, and in this collection was also this 20 millimeter cutter. So let's use this one. So Peter, as you can see, your tools useful. Of course, to be good, this one is a tiny bit too small, but because it's an end mill, I'm gonna first plunge down, of course, and then after I can move sideways and sneak in on the rim here. And of course also see what happens. That's fast. That's good enough. This thing works fantastic. Okay, let's see if now it wants to cooperate. Got you. I think this went perfectly fine. And as you can see, even the pin fits. So that's good. So now all that's left to do is to make a new one out of this piece of knotting that I found here. And lucky I am, it has exactly the same height. And there is more. It has only also the same diameter on the head. So that will be easy. And as you can see, it even fits. Right, this bar is now finished because my 2 pins seems to work here. Let's start thinking about these 2 others here. To hold this part on these bars here, what I want to do is more or less the same than I did for this one, which is of course still not finished. I will put it in the forge jaw and then drill and bore it out and then reduce a little bit the diameter of this bar here, so I have a wedge idea. And of course cut in an angle, so I have a weld preparation. And here again I think we're gonna see the advantage of having 2 lathes. These little parts here, I'm gonna put them in here in the forge jaw chuck. And the bars, I will cut them on the Celtic lathe in the 3 jaw, so I don't have to switch chucks. It's already installed. And here's the first one ready to be welded. Now, of course, I have to cut this bar, but I'm gonna make them one by one because these parts, these are forged and the thickness on every part is different, which means I need to adapt the dimensions of the bar here on every unique part, of course. I drilled out all 4 of them and I also cut the bar, so these 2 are ready to be welded. All that's left to do is to cut these bars here and of course also make them fit on these things. Let's cut. I have here a little mark, and between the mark here and the center here I need 70 millimeters. More or less will be good enough. Something like this. Right. a little bit more. Good. These are now ready to be welded. But to do so, I would like to use my welding rotator. But as you can see, there is a problem. Normally I install the workpieces here between centers. And the spring that now I took off, this is gonna grab in the metal and make it all spin. But as you can see, it's too short. So my idea is to do take this part off and to use my rotator in this position, and then make a little table with a part that fits perfectly fine here, and a piece of plate. And so I can tack weld these parts on here, and I don't need the kind of tailstock. I installed a little bolt to make better electrical contact. I think it will be better. Alright. I managed to capture a very interesting video footage of this paint drying. It took about 24 hours, but unfortunately in the final cut I lost the footage. That's not true, you know it. Who's gonna video drying paint? But because today it is not raining, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put all this shit in my car and let's go over there and install this. It's only a 10-minute drive. We're now at the beginning of the track because it's not a loop, it's just one straight. It's not really straight, but it's not a loop. And the building you see right here, this is the main building. And this is the switch where we're gonna work on today. In this building, this is where the tourists come and they pay for their ticket. And then of course they wait for the ride to come. And while waiting, they see this. It looks a bit like a switch with missing parts. And I think that doesn't look good. It should be better if it is complete. This railroad line is a metric 1000 millimeter gauge. Which means that because if it's a little bit special, finding parts is not really easy to do. You cannot go to the local grocery store and find parts for this. And that's why sometimes we have to be a little bit creative and make ourselves. And this switch is of course a very nice example. This bar is in place and the other two are missing. So let's install. And here we are on another switch. And this is a tiny bit a different model. Dimensions are different and this one has only 2 bars. And now the 3 bars are in place. And in my opinion it looks much better. Now on the other switch the bar did put up a fight a little bit, but finally I got it in. So now back to the workshop and make something else.